Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight UK Season 7, Episode 17. Let's get into it. So in this episode, all the couples go on a retreat together, all of them. And this was a pretty good episode because we found out a lot about some of these couples. A lot of secrets were revealed. So anyway, so they're at the couples retreat and Gemma and Matt have separate rooms. They're not going to be sleeping in the same room. And I think the way it happened was Matt was going to get the room that they were supposed to share together. And because he doesn't want to share a room with Gemma, Gemma is going to share with Adrian and Thomas because she went to them and she asked them if she could stay in their room, which I thought was completely unfair. She's here for the experiment. She's doing what she's supposed to do. She wants to be married. She wants to stay married. She wants to make things work between her and Matt. Why should she give up her room to go bunk with two guys when it should have been him? He should have been the one scrapping around trying to figure out where he was going to sleep because he's the one that doesn't want to be with her. I thought it was completely unfair that she had to give up her room. Now that I think about it, I'm wondering if the producers wanted him to have his own room because of what we found out towards the end, which makes me think, is this stuff real? Married at First Sight UK, is this real? The plot twist, and because this is the second time I've seen. Oh, I'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Okay, so the husbands and Zoe separate from the wives and Thomas. And so they're going to have like exercises that each group is going to be doing, list of very salacious, drama inducing, controversial questions. So Gemma, ever since she's kind of toned down the sex pot in her and her aggressiveness, I think she's a lot more likable. She's a lot more real. I feel like that, she has lost a lot of her personality, especially when she's in the presence of Thomas. She gets very timid, but on her own, she's very likable to me. I do like Gemma a lot. So Matt, he tells the guys and Zoe that he doesn't know where he stands with Gemma. And he kind of gave this spiel like as if he really doesn't think this marriage is going to work. And he feels like, kind of hopeless about this whole situation. And yeah, he sounded very pessimistic about his future with Gemma. So both groups get a list of questions. And one of the question was, who would you want to be married to other than your spouse? And so both sides give their answers to the group. Whatever they said, I don't really remember. I remember a lot of people saying Shanita. A lot of the guys named Shanita. I remember Kwame said Sophie, I think. And as far as the women, who do they pick most? I think somebody picked George. I think Sophie picked Keisha. Not Sophie. What's her name? Jenna. Jenna picked Keisha, I think. I don't remember who they chose that they wanted to be married to, but the next question, I kind of remember that one a little bit better. So the next question was, who would you not want to be married to? And so Gemma quickly said Jonathan. And the reason why she would not want to be married to Jonathan and why she has a problem with Jonathan is because he had told Sophie that if she got any bigger, he would not want her. He wouldn't want to be with her. Can you believe that? I mean, he's such a chauvinistic jerk, this Jonathan. So Sophie started crying when this was revealed. And she says that, yes, Jonathan can be very brutally honest. And Sophie tells us in her confessional that she was relieved that some of this stuff was coming out about Jonathan, but at the same time, she doesn't want to reveal certain things about her marriage. She would prefer that they stay between her and Jonathan because, she doesn't want the entire group, harping on her man. So Shanita, in reference to Sophie and Jonathan's marriage, Shanita said the honeymoon's over because the honeymoon, they had a great time, right? Now that they're back in the UK and they're beginning to see some cracks in the relationship, Shanita says that things are starting to get very real with Sophie and Jonathan. So Matt tells the guys and Zoe that him and Sophie are, Jonathan tells the guys and Zoe that him and Sophie are good, but there's really no spark. And I was really surprised when he said this, because I remember during their honeymoon, Sophie was really smitten by Jonathan, and I thought he was just as smitten by her. And when they went to their very first dinner party, everybody oohed and awed over Sophie's dress and her beauty and everything. And so I was like, you don't feel a spark with Sophie? That's interesting. That's really interesting. And I'm beginning to wonder if there's something else, and he's using that as an excuse to say that he doesn't feel a spark towards Sophie. But he says there's that feeling of wanting to, like, run to each other and tear each other's clothes off. He doesn't feel that for Sophie at all, but he's willing to work towards that. So, the sexiest partner, the next question was, who do you think is the sexiest partner other than your spouse? Whitney said Matt. Okay. She says that, as far as she can see, she thinks that Matt is a really good person, and she never thought that she would be attracted to somebody with tattoos, but she does think that Matt is sexy. So obviously Gemma didn't like to hear this. Gemma didn't say anything against Whitney, but she wishes that she could see in Matt what Whitney sees in Matt. And she says that she feels irrelevant with Matt. And so I was just like, these questions are horrible. These questions are extremely messy, and they're really terrible. And I know that they're meant to start drama, but it's not necessary. Anyways, moving on. The next question was stick or twist. Are you willing to stick it out with your partner, or are you willing to twist? Meaning like, leave them or exchange them for somebody else, something like that. So Duca said that he wants to stick it out with Whitney. He's not going to give up, because Duca's weird. Okay. Duca's very weird. He doesn't do what he needs to do to reassure Whitney that he really wants to be married to her, but he doesn't want to leave her. Jordan, he wants to stick with Shanita. Matt said twist. He wants to exchange Gemma for Whitney. So this is where the crap is beginning. This is where the crap is starting. Matt is expressing an attraction towards Whitney. Whitney is expressing an attraction towards Matt. I remember this happening in Married at First Sight UK. I think it happened more than once. I don't remember, but I definitely remember this happening, not UK, Married at First Sight Australia. This is the first time that I'm watching UK. So my question is this what goes on in these Married at First Sight, over the ones that are in the UK and Australia? This is what they do. There's always, every single season, there's like an affair going on where people want to swap partners and people start messing around with other people's spouse. Is this the theme of Married at First Sight UK and Married at First Sight Australia? Because this would never happen in Married at First Sight US. Now, there is an inkling of it this season of Married at First Sight US. There's a small inkling of it where a husband who is no longer on the show because him and his wife couldn't work out is expressing an attraction to a wife that is still on the show but married to someone else. So, like, what is going on? Is this what they do? Like, this is what it is on Married at First Sight UK and Australia, where they want to make sure that there's always an affair, there's always a cheating scandal. So it's beginning to start, because we see that there's something going now. Matt, this is what makes me think this show can't be real. These have to be paid actors. This is not real, because Matt does not seem like someone who would be attracted to a Whitney, and Whitney for sure does not seem like she would be attracted to someone like Matt. It's like, this is completely random and out of left field to have Whitney and Matt be attracted to one another. It makes no sense, especially since the only thing that he really likes about Gemma is her tattoos. And Whitney is not a tattoo kind of chick. It just doesn't make any sense to me that they would choose those two to, like, start having illicit feelings for one another. Whitney and Matt? Really? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So Matt says that him and Whitney have crossed paths, and there's always been a very nice vibe between them, and that neither of them are happy with their partners. So moving on from there, Jonathan, who is with Shanita, he says he wants to stick it out. No, Jonathan is with Sophie. Sorry. Jonathan's with Sophie. He says he wants to stick it out. And of course, George, he says he wants to stick it out with April. So then On the women's side with Thomas, things got a little bit messy. So Thomas, he wants to start some mess with April because he's got some unresolved issues with April, and it all relates back to Shanita, and Thomas believing that April had told Shanita that he was saying something. He was talking about Sheena behind her back. He's still not over that. They never really got to the bottom of it. I thought that April and Thomas had a conversation at the last dinner party where they had concluded together that the culprit was Jess, who's no longer on. She left with PJ. So I thought that both of them had concluded that it was Jess who went to both April and Thomas at different times and told them that the other was talking about Shanita. But now that theory has flown out the window, and now Thomas is back to believing that it was April herself who took it upon herself to go to Shanita and tell Shanita that Thomas was talking about her behind her back. I believe that they both were talking about Shanita for some reason or another. I think maybe Thomas started it because Thomas is, he's messy like that. I think Thomas started it for some reason, and then April joined in, and April probably joined in to get Thomas going, to get him to say more stuff about Shanita. And then I think she ran and told Shanita that, hey, Thomas is talking about you. And then Thomas being upset that April betrayed him, he's going to turn it around on her, and he's going to completely deny ever saying anything about Shanita. But I think he did. So now at this tea party with the ladies, he's been brewing because the ladies have been having various conversations about, having children in the future, how their marriages are going, this, that, and the third. But Thomas has an agenda. He's just waiting for the opportunity to strike at April, and the opportunity finally came. So April says that her and George are doing really well. And Thomas goes, well, that's not what I hear, because your husband is always at my apartment talking to my husband how unhappy he is with you. So how the hell can you be talking about that y'all are doing good when your damn husband spent the night at my apartment because he couldn't stand being around you? So there's no Adrian there to calm him down. The women don't know. They're not the Thomas whisperers, so they don't know how to calm him down like Adrian does. And so to make it even worse, Keisha steps in and says that when she first met April, she really wasn't feeling her vibe. But now that she's gotten to know her, she actually likes her, and she thinks that April is a lovely person. And I'm like, why would you have to say that in front of Thomas? Because now you're going to get him really riled up. So then the next question was, who do you think is the fakest couple? So Thomas immediately says it's George and April. So then the whole Shanita thing comes up. Okay, they start talking about Shanita. So Thomas completely unleashes on April, calling her a liar, calling her a bitch. And he got so worked up with himself that he actually left the table. He got up and he stormed away just to come right back. So when he came back, the women are like, Thomas, sweetheart, let's just move on. People were telling him, Thomas, it's okay. Let's just move on. It doesn't really matter anymore. You're the only one that's bringing up this whole Shanita thing. Shanita even said, I don't care. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to get a husband. Okay. I'm here trying to get a man. I don't give a damn about this gossipy stuff. I really don't care. So, Thomas is still fuming over it though. Moving on from there. Sophie and Jonathan get a chance to have a conversation in the cold. I don't know why they were out there without proper clothing because they were freezing. So Jonathan and Sophie, they have a conversation, and Sophie tells them how Jonathan was the topic of conversation at the tea party. So she says, the ladies were talking about you, and he was like, and I don't really care. And so she says to him, well, Gemma had brought up how she was really offended by the comment that you had made that, if I gained weight, you wouldn't want to be with me. And Jonathan doesn't like all of this. He said, she said, gossipy stuff. And so he shut it down real quick. And Jonathan was like, I don't really give a damn what Gemma thinks. He called her Jenna. He goes, I really don't care what Jenna thinks. And he says that, I'm not here for them. I'm only here for you. I only care about what you think. And if they don't like what I said, they can go kick rocks. I'm not here to impress them. And so Sophie was trying to explain to him that you have to be very aware of the things that you're saying, especially in front of other people, because you don't want to give them the wrong impression of you. And Jonathan's like, I don't give a damn what impression they have of me. I'm going to say what I want to say. Now, they got so caught up in what other people are saying and what other people think about Jonathan that they didn't get to the heart of the situation, which was, why did you tell your wife that if she gained weight, you wouldn't want to be with her? Now, Jonathan said, and this was kind of like in passing, but they didn't get too deep into it. Jonathan's defense was that when he said that, he was only joking. He said that the ladies have taken it way too far. It was just a joke. He wasn't being serious. Now it has snowballed into this big thing now. And you don't joke about that. There's no way that that's ever going to be funny to anybody. I'm so sorry, Jonathan. Your sense of humor is extremely warped. There is no way that's going to be hilarious to anyone for you to say that if my wife got bigger, if my wife gained weight, I'm not going to want to be with her. Ha ha ha, LOL. That is not how it's going to be taken, because these are some serious issues. Women have struggled with men who don't accept them because of their body size, husbands who pick on them, who become almost damn near emotionally and psychologically abusive because their wives have put on weight. You don't joke about stuff like that. Okay, women are very, very sensitive about their body image, and you would think that their mate, their husbands or partners would be the one to make them feel the safest, not the one to create all kinds of anxiety and body image issues. But Jonathan thought it was funny. Moving on. So Thomas, Gemma, and Adrian, they get together on the steps and they have a conversation, and Gemma talks about Whitney choosing to say that she would want to be married to Matt instead of Duca. And Gemma's whole thing was, Whitney knows how me and Matt are struggling, so how dare she say that she would want to pick my husband, that she would choose my husband to be her husband, knowing that we're struggling with attraction, we're struggling with him, wanting to be with me, wanting to be sharing a room with me, sharing an apartment with me. And Gemma didn't like that at all. So Thomas says to us in his own little confessional with the camera, he says that Whitney is a bitch, and Gemma needs to keep a good eye on her. So Gemma suspects that there's more going on between Matt and Whitney than what it appears. So later on, okay, this is where the episode ends. We see Matt and Whitney. They are in this like dining hall or dining room together and having tea, just the two of them alone. Nobody else is there. And so they are bonding over some, mom trauma. His mom is very ill right now. He's afraid of losing her. She's already lost her mother. So they're bonding over that. And we're seeing a completely different Matt, because Matt has been on edge. He has been tense. He has been wound up because he's been having to deal with Gemma. Now that he's around Whitney, he's a lot more relaxed. He's actually kind of normal and a lot nicer. He's speaking a lot gentler. And so they're having this conversation, and Matt, he concludes that him and Gemma are not going to work out. He's already made up his mind that him and Gemma are not going to work out, but he's probably going to want to continue to stay in the experiment so that he can develop something with Whitney. And we've seen this before on Married at First Sight Australia. I forgot what season it was. It was somewhere during COVID. So Whitney believes that she is just settling with Duca. She's not happy with Duca. This is not the kind of man that she would choose to be with, and that she's just settling. And so Matt tells her, well, I have my own room. So anytime that you need to talk or you need a shoulder to cry on, you know where to find me. And I was like, Lord have mercy. This can't be real. Please tell me that Married at First Sight UK is a scripted show. This cannot be real. There's no way that this keeps happening. It seems like, multiple seasons. This is not real. This is just not real. And so they give us a little snippet of next week's episode, and it seems as if Whitney and Matt take it even a step further. This cannot be real. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.